dangers of touching too many surfaces outside the home, resulting in a change in consumer behaviour where hygiene is the new currency. In addition, shopping experiences have been redefined with the obligatory masks, temperature checks and plexiglass barriers mounted at the tills. Michael Smollan, who's the Chief Growth and Innovation Officer of Smollan, joins us now for some insights into the current retail landscape. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the programme. I have to say, when I go shopping, it is every shop, this process of, getting my hand sanitized and trying to desanitize the basket. It is quite hard work to a point. It's really actually putting me off, and I'm starting to think about how I can not go to the shops. Is this what's playing out generally, that people are starting to think of online experiences rather than the real deal?
I think that, our personal experiences are exactly what everyone is experiencing. I think right in the beginning, when there was more fear, less certainty, we saw the switch to digital happen in a much more kind of functional way. So people started buying online. Those who hadn't bought online before started trialing buying online. And I think, more and more people started to test this process of buying online as opposed to going to physical stores. I kind of think now we've gotten used to putting on our mask, going to a store. And I think that places that have really focused on consumer confidence, so places that are focused on hygiene audits, those are the ones that have sort of gotten people coming back to their stores. But exactly right, we've seen a massive switch in all areas to digital and contactless payments, people, as you say, the cashiers, plexiglass. So this real sense of contactless environment, or even better, digital environment.
So what do the stores do to manage this? Because the health and hygiene portion is one thing, and they can't do without it. But you also want to almost create an experience, because part of shopping is being at the shop, looking around and being able to pick your goods.
Exactly right. We've seen that consumers now have spent so much more time prepping for their shop, going in, only experiencing what it is that they need to buy because they want to spend as little time as possible. We've seen a lot of brand switching. So, if your brand was not in store, you would not go to another store, which you typically would have done. To find that brand, you'll just sort of switch to the brand. So I think, stores have, and particularly when we get to things like consumer electronics stores and clothing stores, I think stores have struggled with the understanding of shopping versus buying. Buying is a functional practice. Buying is what you go and you get because you need to consume it. Shopping is the experience. Shopping is what you want to do. Shopping is what you enjoy. Shopping is that dopamine hit when you find something that you have been perusing for. And I think that COVID hasn't changed the future. It's just accelerated us very quickly into it. And so stores, and particularly malls, have faced this problem of declining footfall for years now. And so they're fighting this sort of crisis of identity as to what they are. Are they the functional fulfillment of somebody's buying pattern, or are they a shopping experience? So I think during COVID, consumer confidence is the biggest point. And so we're going to have to see retailers and stores trying very hard to get that consumer confidence up again, encouraging people back to those stores purely from a COVID perspective. But once we hopefully get over that period, there is going to be the real need to go back to something that people want to shop at, because I think that a lot of people have now experienced digital shopping, and they aren't going to be easily switched back, particularly in categories like, I say, hardware, consumer electronics, clothing, where they've had a very positive experience.
So I guess when it starts to, I know you consult a lot to branding and so on and so forth, and when you're at a shop you can see everything in front of you, but in a digital environment it's slightly different, isn't it? And one of the things I've started to experience is a lot of the emails that I get, I open them more than I used to, and I do walk around that digital store much more than I ever used to.
Sure. I think, and again, coming back to this point that it hasn't changed the future, it's just sort of propelled us into it. Anybody who had a digital strategy that they were busy on a journey of, and in South Africa, I think we were quite far behind a lot of the rest of the world. I lived in China for a long time, and their e-commerce is very much ingrained in the day-to-day life. But I think anybody who had a digital strategy has now really seen the upside of what COVID has done, because it's propelled people into, exactly to your point, trying new products, ordering online, and then once you do have a positive experience, you open those emails, you start to buy more, and you start to kind of walk around that digital ecosystem more and more. And I think what's going to be interesting is those who have taken advantage of it. A good example, Checkers with 60/60, that's really exploded. Pick and Pay and their partnership with Bottles really exploded. And what they could go down is now they've built themselves a platform really to split the experience of shopping and buying. You could be buying online to fulfill your functional needs. Toilet paper as an example, hopefully not 10 years worth of supply as everybody seemed to buy in the beginning. And then a shopping experience by going into store. So whoever had this digital strategy that they were actively working on was ahead of the curve, but now they've really gotten a bump. And all of us are feeling the propulsion towards this digital ecosystem. And like I say, where the experience has been positive, we will stick with it. Where it's negative, obviously, like all things, we'll look to switch.
All right. At one point, a new mall was being built on every corner, and I'm talking by my own experiences now, is I try as hard as I can not to go to malls anymore. I much prefer the smaller shopping centres that I go to for convenience and buy the things that I need, and I go home. And I really, the whole idea of going to find parking, walking for miles to find certain shops, it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. So what is the future of big malls, especially having gone through COVID-19?
It's a big question. I think if you were honest with yourself, you'd say you were going to malls less and less than you did 10 years ago anyway, before COVID. And so, like I say, I think that malls particularly and department stores particularly have had this kind of crisis happening, and we've just now accelerated forward, and so the crisis is far more evident than it's been before. I think that malls have a choice now. Do they really embrace the combination of digital and physical? So I think if you were, you mentioned parking, it's a great point. It's an extremely frustrating experience. You park, a kilometer away from the entrance, you've got to pay a parking ticket, somewhere you've got to find it. The whole consumer experience is very difficult. But if you looked at every point of interaction of that, and you joined a loyalty program as an example, you could park within a certain proximity, your parking ticket got taken care of digitally by either yourself or somebody else. So there wasn't a parking ticket. You could just use, your license plate, and then your credit card got charged. If you had a functional list of shopping to do, somebody would take that list and do that shopping while you walked around the stores. They brought you a coffee as you entered. That is an experience. That is something that you would go back for, and chances are you would spend more money in that mall and you would have a great experience. The problem is not the problem right now is consumer confidence and COVID and hygiene. But as soon as we hopefully, like I say, get over this and malls kind of get up to standard of hygiene audits, hygiene ambassadors, things like this to sort of quell our fears, they're going to need to tackle this problem of experience. And so that is not a COVID problem. That is really one that's been coming for a long time. And I think it is something that's they have the ability to overcome. It's just about consumer experience. Does anybody have to go to?
All right. Michael Smollan, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks so much for this fascinating chat about this retail experience and how COVID-19 has accelerated perhaps a future that was already on its way. Thanks so much indeed for your time. That is Michael Smollan, Chief Growth and Innovation Officer at Smollan.